All right. Well, hello, good morning or good evening, wherever you are joining us from. This is a webinar today covering AWS Observability. And my name is Katie Gray, and I'm a product marketing manager here at Sumo Logic. So the overview of our session today, first is, of course, a very quick introduction to Sumo Logic for those of you who are new to our product. And then we'll jump right into what is the AWS observability solution that we offer, and talking about what services it supports. And then the majority of the session today is really diving into the live demo. So I'll go through a couple examples of how to use the product to, of course, provide observability into your AWS environment, but also do a couple troubleshooting examples. How do you identify an issue, and then go through the process of using all of the data that's provided through the platform to get all the way to the root cause. And we'll talk about a couple of use cases. And then, of course, we will have time for Q&A at the end of the session. But I also want to point out, I'm going to try to be answering some questions throughout. So feel free to go ahead and post your questions as I'm going through the content, and I'll do my best to answer them as we go. All right, so Sumo Logic. We are a continuous intelligence platform. We have over 2,000 customers. We ingest tons of data daily, over 150 petabytes, and millions of records, searches performed daily. The crux of our solution is really the ability to provide multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, and on-premise support. So wherever you are in your cloud journey, our solution can support you. So we have one platform that has multiple use cases, and those use cases span operation intelligence, security intelligence, business intelligence, and global intelligence. What we're going to be focusing today is the operational intelligence piece. So, of course, your applications running in AWS, how do you provide operational visibility into those solutions, and then provide the analytics to all of the various teams in your organization. So jumping into our AWS solution, I always think it's nice to kind of start with some fun stats. We published our continuous intelligence report for 2020 maybe a month ago. And this is our latest data on what are actually are our customers using as far as cloud or on-prem. And we have about almost 60% of our customers using AWS only, a huge portion, 18% in multi-cloud, of course, some on-prem as well, some Azure, some GCP, but really that huge portion in AWS. So of course, it's really important to us to have a dedicated solution for AWS environments. Diving a little bit deeper into that use case, one of the things we see across these customers, and this is data, again, from our customers, is how many services are they actually using within AWS? Last year, the median number of services used by enterprises was 15. This year, it actually jumped up to 26, which is pretty staggering to me. We have the top 10 services used over here on the right. Of course, EC2, CloudTrail, Lambda, S3, kind of interesting data. And then looking even a little bit deeper, one of the things we see throughout these customers is that really that the architecture complexity continues to increase. So of course, as those number of services grows, we also see the number of regions that the services operate under growing. 47% of customers use 2 or more AWS regions. And also 43% of customers use 2 or more AWS accounts. And of course, this is pretty typical for AWS customers to split their environment into multiple accounts for billing or a number of other reasons. And really, it's recommended in a lot of cases. But what this actually means is that sometimes it can make that architecture super complex. So we see the impact of a lot of these things is that visibility tends to be super fragmented throughout these different services, and that data can be siloed by those services. In addition, there's often a pretty complex chain of dependencies as you're trying to troubleshoot an issue. So often you'll get an alert for maybe S3 or something happening with Lambda or DynamoDB, but that might not really be the root cause of what's causing an issue in your environment. So how do you actually trace backwards and to understand what actually caused the initial issue? And that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today. In addition, troubleshooting often requires a lot of ad hoc queries in order to track down what is the root cause. This is another thing that we're going to try to address with our AWS observability solution. We talk a lot about with observability being able to give information into the unknown unknowns. And this is pretty important with this solution. How do we provide you with that data upfront when there is an issue so that you can have that complete observability into your architecture? Okay, so our AWS observability solution is kind of broken up into a couple different pieces here. The first is visibility across all of the various services in your environment. And we'll go through this in depth in the demo. But first, bring together all of the accounts, regions, and services in your organization into a single place where you can easily gain visibility and diagnose issues. The second piece is our root cause explorer. And this is a machine learning based system that maps out metrics over time and presents you with the anomalous metrics only. And this is able to accelerate your issue resolution time when you're trying to diagnose an issue. So we're going to go through this solution as well. And finally, a really important piece of this solution is fast time to value, providing you with all of the out-of-the-box dashboards for all of the services. So this solution supports over 40 different out-of-the-box dashboards for various services. And these our engineers have spent a lot of time really trying to understand exactly what are the most important things to look at for each service. And so we'll see that in the solution. So everything I'm going to show you is actually available out of the box, nothing custom at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the solution. So here I am in Sumo Logic. And if you've ever logged into Sumo Logic before, let's actually start one step back here, you'll probably be brought somewhere like this. We have on the left here, our navigation menu. You can navigate to different dashboards or looking at different solutions. Before our AWS observability solution, you navigate to the plus a new icon and then explore. And here we have Kubernetes in this environment. We can also have our AWS observability solution as well. And this is where we're going to be spending our time today. So looking at this right out of the box, I'm actually looking at 3 different AWS accounts. So I have our dev account, production account, and staging account. You might have many, many more than this. And within each one, you can drill down to look at a specific region and also a specific service. So as I'm navigating down, the dashboard on the right is then refiltering and adjusting depending on what type of entity I'm looking at. So now I'm getting an overview of my US East 1 region. And this is giving me a snapshot of all of the different services that we're seeing here. So what's happening with my load balancer, with the API gateway, with EC2 and Lambda. And from here, I can jump in to look at a specific service. So here, if I want to look at EC2, you'll notice that the dashboard adjusts to give me what's important to understand about my EC2 instances. So here I can get a snapshot of instances with high CPU utilization, high memory utilization, and so forth. And from here, you can jump into a specific entity if it looks like there's an issue here. So this metric is telling me again, high memory utilization, and I can click on a specific honeycomb. And now I'm brought with information about not just the metrics, but I can also pivot to related logs or error logs about this particular instance. Now, this is something that's pretty key to our solution, is not just providing you the metrics or logs data, but being able to connect those two pieces. And I'll talk about this after the demo, but this has a lot to do with how we collect and ingest data into our platform. We, as the data is ingested, we make sure to tag that data in a consistent manner so that we can pivot from, okay, what is the metric that we're alerting on here, which is high CPU or memory utilization, and pivot to the logs associated with that particular entity. I can also jump to the related dashboard for this particular instance. So you'll see we have a bunch of EC2 instances here. But what if I just want to look at this one that I clicked on? It'll bring me right to that instance. And like I said before, each one of these has a bunch of different dashboards that are customized to what you want to investigate for that type of entity. So here at EC2, we have a dashboard just to investigate memory a little bit deeper. And so you can click over to that and then investigate what might be happening with that instance's memory. Okay, let's look at a different type of asset here. If we look at Lambda. So again, my overview of what's happening for my Lambda service is going to be now curated for what is useful to look at for Lambda. So top invocations today versus yesterday, any throttling that's happening. And we can also look at if there are any errors. So actually here we have a pretty high number of errors. And here we have, it's pulling up what are those top error messages. We can see right away that this get billing info function is presenting us with quite a few errors. Here again, we have another chart looking at something similar, the success versus failures by that function name. And again, that get billing info is really presenting us with quite a lot of errors. So this might be something that we want to investigate further. One of the things I can do is filter this entire dashboard by that function name. So here I can click get billing info. Okay, and now I can see things like what are the most frequent operations for that function. So of course we have invoke events, but we also have this update function configuration. And if we're getting errors, this might be something we want to investigate, understand what was updated to this function to maybe cause those errors to occur in the first place. And so again, here I can pivot to investigate I'll show you what I clicked on exactly before I went too fast. Now I can look at, okay, what are all of these operations? And I can open all of these logs in the log search. So I was brought to that here. And so I can flip from the aggregates to what are the actual messages. And this is really where the power of logs comes into play, where you can drill really deeply into a problem, not just getting those high-level metrics, but having them both together. Here I can filter for the event name, which we were interested in looking at further, the update function configuration. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so here are the actual messages for those events. And we can actually see who the user is that made those changes. And we can go talk to Mark Smith about what happened and look into rolling it back. So that's an example of how you might quickly go from something that looks suspicious to what exactly happened in your environment. Okay, let's look at another example. One of the things I wanted to talk about was, say you get an alert for an issue with a load balancer. And here you're getting a ton of 500 errors with a load balancer. So we talked a little bit earlier about how it can be difficult to trace the actual alert that you're getting to the actual root cause. You need to understand the dependencies between the services and understand the chain reaction that can happen if you are, maybe this might be the effect, but not necessarily the cause. So how would I investigate this a little bit further? Well, one of the tools that we have at our disposal is our root cause explorer. So one of the things I can do is I can, instead of just looking at ELB, maybe I want to take a look at this entire region. So if I go to region, and then instead of looking at the overview, I can take a look at the events of interest that occurred in this region. And this is the first time you're seeing our root cause explorer functionality. But what this is all of the metrics that are coming in to AWS Observability are being monitored by a machine learning algorithm, as well as some custom rules built in to the solution by people who are familiar with these services and what is common and how they are interrelated. And we're seeing only here the anomalous metrics. So each one of these here, just click on this as an example. This metric is an ELB throughput, sorry, it's process bytes sum metric. And it's telling us that it is 2,500% above what it normally is. And so that's why it's occurring here on this graph. Same thing here. This 500 error, which this is the error that we were interested in at about 650, is almost 4,000% above what it normally is. So how do we investigate this a little bit further and understand if other services are actually involved in this issue? So I can click Open in Root Cause Explorer, and this brings up a richer tool in order to allow me to filter a little bit further some of the anomalies and events of interest that have popped up on the screen. And this is the time frame I'm interested in. I know this one occurred at around 650. So I want to zoom in a little bit more. Not sure if that's relevant, but I'll keep it on the page for now. And again, here we'll take a look at, what is actually occurring here. We know what region it is because I opened it up from the US East 1 region. It actually maintained that filter here. But if you want to zoom out even further, you have the ability to do that. And then here, if I click on namespace, these are the different services that we're getting anomalies for. So our EC2 host has 5 anomalies, ELB has 2, DynamoDB is involved here. So I'm getting a sense of what are the different services at play. And also you can select specific services here on the filters. But what I want to actually do is take a look at this timeline view, because this can be really powerful in understanding what happened first, what happened last. This is actually a couple other anomalies occurred before our 500 error. So those are, here we have a host bottleneck on EC2. And if I click on this, I can click on the metrics and we can see what the metric is that's actually creating this anomaly flag. So the different colors here, if you look at the green, this is time shifted by 1 day. So this is what yesterday looked like. The dark blue is time shifted by 7 days. So this is what last week looked like. And this is the current one, the current day. And so comparing what the seasonality is of this metric, because of this spike here, that's why it's showing up. If this always spiked at Monday at this time, then of course it would not be presented here as an event of interest. So the solution does take that into account. It's also actually grouping 4 different events. So we're seeing this across multiple EC2 hosts. So cutting down the number of things that you need to look at and digest. But then again, here, there's something that happened even before that. Here we have a DynamoDB bottleneck. And again, here looking at the metrics, we see this huge spike. And the metric that we're getting anomaly for is the read throttle events. And so if I wanted to investigate this further, this seems to actually be the first thing that occurred. So maybe I want to go look at the related logs here. I can look at logs, or you can look at recommended dashboards. So again, for each of these services, there's out-of-the-box dashboards to provide you insight into that particular type of data. So here I can look at my DynamoDB events. Okay, and here are the different events that occurred. So here I have update table event, describe table, update time to live. You can see the errors here, and then you can see actually, here's all of those table events that occurred. And again, here I can go ahead and open this in the search. Before I do, I want to point out one thing. Anytime you open up a new panel like this, the time is preserved as you move over. So as we zoomed into this particular timeline, then as I click open in events, then that timeline will be preserved so that you're only looking at those particular events. And then here, if I do open in search, I can look a little bit more closely at what these log messages are. Here I can switch from aggregates to messages. Okay, and I can see right away the update table event. And there's a couple of them. And then I can actually see who that user is. Here is an update table event that Ankit implemented. So I can go see what that change is here in the request parameters. And I can also go talk to that engineer about exactly what they changed. So great way to go from a 500 error that's sending you an alert, maybe sending you a PagerDuty alert in the middle of the night, to quickly understand what are the different services at play, and then getting to the actual root cause. And that's truly the power of this solution. I'll stop there for a second and see if there are any questions. They're popping up on my home screen. Okay, question about some resources to setting up the integration between AWS and Sumo. Yes, we will be providing a couple links at the end, but maybe Spencer can go ahead and pop those in the chat. And does ELB monitoring support both app and network ELBs? Great question. Yes, to my knowledge, it does. We do have app integrations for both of those. But if you want to double check, then a good way to do that and to see what apps are supported by our solution is to go to the app catalog. And here we can just type in ELB. Oh, here we go. We have Elastic Load Balancer. It's not, it is not abbreviated here. And so here are the different types of dashboard support that we have out of the box for ELB. Okay. Okay. And then in our environment, we have hundreds of AWS accounts. Can Sumo be configured to allow individual DevOps teams to access only their accounts? Yes, there is pretty detailed role-based access control. So I believe that should be possible, but you know, of course, go deeper into the docs. But yeah, we do have pretty pretty detailed RBAC capabilities. So you should definitely be able to allow some users to access various accounts while other users get an overall view. Okay, great. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the setup and what the data ingestion looks like. And I see I'm running out of time here. I've gone a little slower than I normally do, I guess. So how the setup actually works is through AWS CloudFormation. It is a very quick setup using a CloudFormation template. And what you would do is go through and select which services you want to include. And these are the services that we currently have out of the box support for. You can add additional services, but these are the ones that are currently included in our initial CloudFormation template. And then for each of those services, we're pulling in the CloudWatch logs and metrics and the CloudTrail logs into Sumo Logic. And I talked a little bit about the enrichment. On the Sumo side, what we're doing is tagging the account, region, namespace, and entity for all of these namespaces as they're brought into the Sumo platform. With that enrichment is how we're doing the pivoting from logs to metrics. Okay, I wanted to show a couple examples here. And I see I only have a couple minutes, so I'll go very fast. Snoop is a fintech company in the UK, and they use over 7 different AWS services and use the AWS Observability solution to consolidate the view across those services, really heavy on Lambda. And the solution allows them to see things that are typically hard to see when you are running completely serverless, things like latency, where it's hard to understand all of the chain reaction of things as your services are spinning up and down to support different loads. And they were also able to achieve a 50% reduction in alert noise from using Root Cause Explorer to diagnose their issues. Okay, and of course, our Sumo Logic team uses this. They were able to reduce their MTTR for incidents from 15 to 20 minutes to 2 to 4 minutes. So pretty incredible decrease in time spent understanding what those root causes were because of being able to connect the dots between services. Another fintech company, Zest Money, uses this solution, again, to help get a consolidated view, especially for these companies that have multiple AWS services. So I mentioned some of these links. Hopefully Spencer is populating these in the chat. If you don't have Sumo Logic yet, you can get a free trial at sumologic.com. Our docs are at help.sumologic.com. And then I also put a link in the chat that is a link directly to the AWS Observability app integration page. And from there, you can go to install the app within Sumo Logic, and also the docs to get started with CloudFormation template and pulling in that data. Okay, I'll just do another check if there are any other questions. Okay, it looks like we covered them all. I'll wait another couple minutes. All right, I think that is it. So I want to really thank everyone for attending. Definitely please be in touch if you have any questions about the solution. I know our support team is always standing by to help get people set up. And of course, ease that setting up the integrations. So thanks so much.